Well, hi there. This is Susan Esco reporting for the Hollywood Times here with Lina Trivedi. Lina is an entrepreneur, and you might recognize her name from the Beanie Baby Bubble movie. And we're here to talk to her about how it feels to be out identified on the big screen and what she's up to these days. So hi, welcome. Thanks for being here with us.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Susan.
Yeah, one thing that I recognized is that we're about the same age. And I was reflecting on what was I doing back in the 90s? And I certainly was not developing e-commerce. So
Yeah.
Can you tell us how you ended up being the inventor of e-commerce in the 90s?
Yeah, it wasn't a intentional thing. And it wasn't like, my brother and I, we worked together at THT on the website, and we were just doing what seemed to make sense to do. It wasn't like we had it wasn't like we connected and said, hey, let's invent this thing and we can call it e-commerce. It just happened that way because it's what made sense. And we happened to be the first ones to do it. And it's definitely a overwhelming thing when you go back and look at it, because in the 90s, both my brother and I, we were young. I was in college. He had just graduated high school, and we were doing all the typical things that people in college do. We were going to the best parties, listening to the best music. I mean, we grew up in the 90s, basically, to Lollapalooza. It was every band playing was a headliner band. It was an amazing time when you look at all the pop culture that was around then. The gaming, I remember just playing Mortal Kombat and GoldenEye, Sega Genesis, and all of these really cool things that were going on in the 90s. And I had the best friends that I'm still friends with today. That's what I think of when I think of the 90s. And it just happens to be that I pioneered something that shaped the world of commerce, I guess,
Yeah, pretty much. Like, oopsie, what did I do this time? Change the world. So how was that being in tech as a woman back in the 90s? I noticed we're still having some same issues, but let's talk about the past issues.
Yeah, in the 90s when I was working at THT, I was a college kid with an idea, and I felt that the idea was just embraced. It wasn't looked at as having a gender or a race associated with it. We were just very ambitious, and we were in a space that no one else was at. So it's sort of like when you go to another planet, if we're going to land on Mars, no one's going to be asking what gender you are or what race you are. You're just a human. And that's how I looked at it. What happened after was an entire journey. The tech industry is so sexist. It's the most sexist industry that I have ever had to navigate. And being in tech, I have the pleasure of being able to touch a lot of industries, because every industry needs tech,
so it's all interconnected.
Yeah. And
so I did notice that you've become very passionate about speaking out against sexism in the tech industry.
Yeah, what made me most passionate is my child. She views me as this tech goddess. We go all over the place, and she's always pointing out the great things that I've done. And it kind of sounds a little funny because it sounds so huge and so big, and people are like, I don't even know who you are. And I'm like, yeah, I know. It's kind of the way the world is right now, right? But she wanted to take a Lego robotics class. She was so excited to take this class, and there was a lot of working up to it. And she was excited about just learning about technology and some of the cool things that she was thinking that she would make. When you think Legos and you think robotics, it just is so, there's a sexiness to it. It's just cool. And she wanted to quit after a week. And when I probed to find out why she wanted to quit, she told me that the class is broken up into small groups, and each group has 3 boys and 3 girls. And she said every group, the boys just are taking over, and the girls, they don't even get hurt. They can't say anything. Their ideas are not listened to.
Wow.
I was like, wow, it's happening in 5th grade. And this is what I have experienced, what I felt my whole life, because when I go into a professional situation, nobody knows what I've done because most people have never heard of me. So I'm sitting here listening to people talk about solutions, and I'm thinking, you know, oh, wow, this is something I was doing 15 years ago, but okay, you know, I have to sit and listen and give everyone the time and space. And then when I'm trying to apply what I think we should do, it's difficult to get through those obstacles and those barriers. And when the movie came out, it was such a surreal experience for me, because everybody talks about how self-respect, self-reflection is paramount, right?
Right.
And this is self-reflection amped up so many times when you see this massive production that took place after someone interviewed hundreds of people to produce this story.
Yeah.
And then you see how other people see the story that has all of the same facts, but a slightly different perspective than how you saw it.
Right.
And everybody, you know, that I've interacted with that has seen the movie has watched the movie and been like, wow, this girl got the short end of the stick. So I'm watching the movie and I'm like, that's me, you know? How do you process that? It's really difficult.
Yeah, I was feeling the same thing when I was watching it. I was like, why isn't she demanding a raise? Why isn't she quitting and going somewhere else? But then I reflected, it was the 90s and you were young. And do you feel like the movie was an accurate portrayal of you and the things that you were able to accomplish?
Yeah, I would say that it was like 85% accurate. You know, there were some timeline shifts. For example, Robbie's character in the movie, she was going out as I was coming in, but in reality, she made the hiring decision to hire me, and we worked together for several years. So there were some, you know, liberties in storytelling that took place, which is understandable when you're trying to tell a story in 90 minutes. Or 100 and whatever minutes it was, 110 minutes.
It's like playing telephone. Someone says something and then it gets kind of messed up a little bit and then it gets even more construed.
Yeah, but there were small details.
I did notice an article from that a Thai representative denied your involvement in a few things. Did you want to talk about that at all?
I didn't really understand that. And I'm still confused by it. And my guess is the spokesperson wasn't there at the time. I don't know. You know, I know that when I watched the movie, I was going through a lot of emotions and feelings of just being a little bit surprised with how the experiences were rendered. And I think I had gone so many years thinking in my mind, well, I did this a long time ago, but it was never validated by the world. And then I saw the movie at the same time that everybody else did. So now all of a sudden I'm watching the movie and I'm like, you know, that is what my brother and I did. And then, you know, maybe I would like to think that maybe the spokesperson just didn't know, or maybe, I don't know. I don't even know what to think of it.
Yeah, it seems like a long time ago to bring up, you know, misconstrued things anyway, but I was wondering, do you consider yourself a feminist?
I don't know what that means. What is it? How do you define feminist?
Well, for me, a feminist means that, you know, we feel that we're equal. We're all equal humans. You know, we're equal to men. We can do what men can do. Do you feel that way as well?
I don't think that we can do all the things men can do, and I don't think that men can do all the things we can do. However, I do believe that we are entitled to equal access to opportunities. So from that standpoint, I believe in equality. But it would be silly to acknowledge or to think that we could do things men can do. And it would also be very silly to think that men can do things we can do, right?
True. So I was wondering, what advice would you give younger women who are thinking about getting into the tech industry today?
I think when I was going into the industry, which I would qualify when I left Thai as me entering the industry, because at Thai it was sort of a bubble. That's why they call it the Beanie Bubble. But once I left Thai and I officially entered what was considered an industry, it was very messed up. There are so many things that were wrong with it. And I think that if I knew that I'm going into an industry that has issues, then I would have been better prepared mentally for a lot of the situations that would have occurred. So that would be the first thing that I would want girls to know, that there are issues in the industry, but there are also a lot of people that are wanting to figure out how to make it better and how to fix it. So once you come into the picture knowing that, then you have a little bit more patience, a little bit more stamina, and you're able to navigate some of the challenges that come before you without taking things too personal. And the other thing that I would want girls to know is to just really keep pushing forward and to stand up for yourself, just like how in the movie Robbie's character had asked Maya, which was my character, if I stand up for myself. And I think that that's very important, to stand up for yourself, but do it respectfully, and to be conscious of other people's feelings and emotions and their journey. There are a lot of men out there that I believe have the right intention and want to see change, but they don't know how, right? So
Right.
there is a strong likelihood that a lot of conversations are going to be difficult. And I think if both people acknowledge that these are going to be difficult conversations, then we can go into the conversation without losing our dignity, without yelling or without crying or without getting emotional.
Right.
And be prepared to really lay down the facts and speak assertively. And I think with that preparation, I really believe that there will be changes that I'll see in my lifetime and in my child's lifetime.
Yeah, that sounds like great advice. I did notice on one of your Instagram posts that you were looking for some women to share stories. Did you want to drop your Instagram handle so our followers can find you there?
Yeah, my Instagram is trivedi.lina. And I do want that because I think that that is a huge part of igniting change. Because once we start hearing what the experience is, then people are able to better dismantle what is causing those experiences to happen. And I started this journey thinking that I wanted to make an impact in the tech industry. However, some of the comments are coming from all different types of industry, from footwear to just, different business consulting. And it's amazing how much disparity women experience in the workplace. And I think that the movie has done a beautiful job with just elevating that message so that we can have that dialogue that's going to go somewhere.
Right, ignite change.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I hear you speaking about it, my whole body vibrates. I'm in with you. I'm very motivated and passionate. I'm also passionate about fighting ageism. So ageism, sexism, all of
Ableism.
it. What did you say?
I have ableism. I have a disabled daughter, and that's another sector of people that experience so much unfairness. And the tragedy of it that I've experienced with my child, who has a physical disability and a vision disability, is that there are laws that are already in place to protect their rights, but we just don't know what they are. So we just continue these injustices to continue. And I'm with you. We need to really look at how we treat people. And if someone is expressing that something is unfair, before we jump to our own conclusions of, no, that's not fair, that's the way that it's always been. Well, the way that it's always been is maybe not the best way.
Right. Step back and be open for a perspective shift for sure.
Yeah.
I wanted to open up the conversation to your new project. So I noticed you have a new project out that involves AI. Would you like to speak about that?
Yeah, I love it. It's joy.ai, Joii.ai. And you talk about some of the challenges that face the older population and some of these other populations that are just considered disconnected. And what we're creating is a technology that is designed to connect people. And what we have found is we have all these different networks that we're involved with, Facebook, Instagram, where we have hundreds of friends, thousands of followers, but yet we're not really connected to any of them. The people who are most important to me, my brother, my cousin, some of my best friends that I grew up with in the 90s, I end up not really talking to them as much as I want to, not connecting with them as much as I want to. And it's because they're busy, I'm busy, I have, my daughter, they have their family. How do we find opportunities to connect? And that is what the AI is designed to do. It is a way of producing a digital version of yourself. And that digital version of yourself connects with the very people that you're trying to connect with. So say me and my cousin, we're constantly trying to connect, but we're both so busy. If we both are on joy.ai and we both agree that we're trying to connect on joy.ai, then the digital version of ourselves, we call it a digime. Our digimes are going to be finding opportunities for us to connect with one another. So say, for example, I'm going to Target tomorrow because I have to do some shopping. He probably has to do some shopping too, but if his digime informs him that I'm going to be at Target tomorrow afternoon, he might shuffle his schedule around to show up at Target at the same time, or text me and say, hey, I'm coming to Target right now. And then we'll end up going to the Target Cafe and having tea or whatever, and it'll be a social connection that wouldn't have otherwise happened.
Oh,
And
wow.
AI is so exciting right now. There's so many new developments with AI, and we're in the very, very initial stages. I have an awesome partner. His name is Nitin Luthra, and he comes from the corporate background. So I feel like our journey through this startup has been a lot of highlighting a lot of these dialogues that I'm speaking about right within my startup with somebody who is coming from that background. And it definitely has given me some insight to what is happening in corporate America beyond what I've already experienced, coming from, someone who has worked in corporate America the same amount of time that I've been avoiding corporate America.
Right.
It's no coincidence that after I left Thai, I have not gone back to corporate America, because I was just like, I'm not going to do that again. And that disconnection that I have in understanding what happens behind those big buildings and the glass and all of that, I'm now seeing with having to work out different issues with my partner. And we have really insightful conversations, and we've been talking a lot about childcare as it affects women, and how childcare is an economic issue. It's a business issue. It's not a woman's issue. And that conversation, it was difficult to have that conversation, because he came from the perspective that he had. I came from the perspective that I had as a single mother to a disabled child. If I had access to childcare, my entire life would be completely different, because my whole life has been a struggle. So if I had childcare, though, it would have been a little bit less of a struggle. And,
That's understanding. Yes.
yeah. So joy.ai is something that represents a lot of things for me, not just the technology and the solution that we're going to have to reconnect people who are growingly disconnected. The Surgeon General just issued a public advisory about how the issue of social isolation is affecting our mental health and our physical health, and how it's going to be a mental health crisis in our nation if we don't do something about it. And the populations that are most affected are the elderly and the Gen Z population. So how do we fix this? And I believe that joy.ai is going to make a dent on that issue, and I'm really excited to develop it.
I am really excited to see this come down the pike, for sure. Thank you so much for your time and your passion to support women in all the environments, and to bring us humans back together, because the disconnection is real. And I just really appreciate anyone who's here to bring humanity back together. Thank you so much.
I agree. It started all with Beanie Babies. Beanie Babies was something that was intended to bring joy to people. And it just feels really full circle, where here I am creating joy.ai to do the same thing, to bring joy back to people. So thank you.
Way to go, friends. You did it. Thank you
Thank you.
so much for your time, and I wish you all the best. I'll be watching your journey.
Thank you very much. Bye.
All right, bye for now.